Good morning. I'm Christopher Key. I'm here in fabulous Los Angeles, California, and taking in some new microbiome. And I'm here today to tell you a story of how I killed my grandmother and how that would go on to change my life forever. This story started some 20 plus years ago. I just graduated from the University of Alabama. I just got my degree in exercise physiology and kinesiology. I was ready to take on the world with this newfound knowledge and this new education I had received from the university. And I would try to do it starting off in that very first year. In that first year, there was a story written about me of how I would take all life's risks in one busy year. In that story, it was talking about how the 6 most stressful things to do in life and what they were, and how I did them. The first number 1 stressful thing to do was to get married, which I did. Number 2 was to buy a home, which I did, but I didn't just buy one, I bought 2. The number 3 thing to do was start a new business, which I did, but I couldn't just do one business, I had to do 2 businesses. The 4th most stressful thing to do was to have a child, and I did, but again, I couldn't just have one, I had twins. So this happened all in the first 12 months of life, and life was amazing. We were doing very well. To tell you a little bit about my business, I started a health club, and my health club was very, very successful, and it became successful because of all the research I would do on all the new modalities and new technologies that were in the fitness market but were not being brought to market. And I always wanted to be the first at everything I did, so I would bring these things into my club. I was the first one in the Southeast to bring things in like yoga and Pilates and kickboxing and Tai Chi and MMA fighting. I was the first one to be open 24 hours. I was the first one to have the smoothie bar, the nutritional center, the first one to bring in gourmet prepared meals for their clients. We were the first to do most things, and this made us very successful and gained lots of respect between me and my colleagues. So much so that one of the most respected orthopedic surgeons in the country would operate on his elite athletes, and he would then send those athletes to me if they stayed in town to work out with me personally. And that worked out fabulous. My club grew to almost 4,000 members. Very, very successful. The other business that I was doing was called Health Measurement Systems. This was a company that I helped bring a technology called the BodPod to market. This was a new advanced technology that cost almost $35,000. All my professors laughed at me, said I was crazy, so there was no way you could bring this technology to market. But again, I did. And if you do research, you'll see that this technology now is the gold standard around the world. And my 2 companies were doing fabulous, doing all the things that you hope to do with your newfound education and all the things that life tells you is successful. I was doing them. And then that day came where everything would change forever, and my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer. I had researched all these things about health and wellness, but cancer had never been in my life. And I went to these medical doctors that were very good friends of mine, and I asked them, what do you do? She's got cancer, and they told me chemotherapy and radiation and UAB in Birmingham. So I went back and I convinced my grandmother that this is what she had to do, that these doctors knew best, and that if anybody was going to save their life, that they would. And she did this, and did this only because I told her to. And in 35 days, my grandmother was dead. And I was responsible for that. And that was very hurtful for me, very overwhelming for me, because I had put my trust and faith in these medical doctors thinking they knew best, and convinced my grandmother to do this, and then she was dead. And I was lost. Because I knew this couldn't be the truth, and I knew it wasn't right, and I didn't know what was going on, but I asked God to show me the truth, that I wanted to see the truth, and He did, and the truth I began to learn were just, I couldn't believe them. It made no logical sense, because the more I researched, I began to realize that there were many alternative therapies for cancer. And why my medical doctors didn't tell me this, I didn't understand. It made no sense to me. And I continued to do research, and God continued to reveal all these other truths about water, about supplements, about herbs, about frequencies. But none of it made logical sense to me. And I kept coming back to that. If this was really truth, then everybody would know about it. That there's no way I could just know these things and nobody else know about it. And I didn't know what to do. And it completely consumed me. And I kept going down this rabbit hole, and God kept revealing truth after truth after truth after truth. And so much so that I lost complete total focus on my health club, and my health club went under. And when that happened, that was even another low. And the money was gone now. And with the money gone, it got worse. My wife came to me and served me divorce papers, and she divorced me. And she took my kids. And I didn't know what to do. I mean, it was such a low, but I kept wanting to know more truth, and God kept revealing these things to me. And that wasn't the low point, her divorcing me and taking my kids. The really low point came when my father, he called my ex-wife, and he told her that he was sorry for the way that he had raised me, and that he was a failure in the way that he had raised me. And that was a hurtful part, because I knew, number one, I was no failure, and I knew the way he had raised me was to seek the truth and to never quit, and always know that God will give you no more than you can handle. And that inspired me to keep going, because I knew I was on the right path. I knew what I was doing was real. But I had no platform to get this truth out there. So I kept praying, and finally God gave me the opportunity, and I was able to start a new company with a new partner. And this company would go on to be way more successful than my first. And we were doing things that were unheard of. To start with, with this company, we were part of 3 national championships. We were part of 2 Super Bowls. We were part of the single largest turnaround ever in collegiate athletics. God was being good, and revealing these truths all over the place. I knew that if I could get these athletes to help me spread this truth, then the masses would take notice, because they would do what these people would say. So we were able to get these elite athletes to start speaking about the things that they were doing with us, and it spread like wildfire. So much so that the NFL, head of the NFL, Roger Goodell, he came in and told all these elite athletes that if they did not disassociate from us, they would be suspended from the league. Most companies that would be devastating, but it didn't bother me. I knew what we were doing was right. I knew what we were doing was working, and I wasn't going to let this bother us at all. So we were able to take all these stories, and we got Yahoo to write these stories about what was going on how the NFL were not allowing these athletes to utilize or to endorse us anymore. And that story went out there and brought in more people to us, that we were able to get to more people, and it was amazing. And so much so that more athletes got involved with us, and it got to the point where the NFL then came in and they banned us altogether. And they said our products were banned, and to associate with us was banned. And what was interesting is when the NFL did this, Major League Baseball did this, and then the PGA did this, which for most companies, this would be the end of them. But again, me and my partner, we knew that we could take this negative and make it a positive, because now we were one of the most controversial supplement companies in the world, and we utilized that, and we pushed through with that, and we got more articles written about us, and got more of this truth out, so much so that we were on the cover of Sports Illustrated, which brought more people into us. I mean, we were a household name now, and this truth was getting out there, and everybody was utilizing our products and our services because we were showing them about real food, about real water, real supplements and herbs, and real frequencies, and it was working. So then it came in that they had banned us, and we had gotten one of our athletes, a golfer, to take the PGA to court, and the PGA did not want to go to court, so they were going to lift the ban. And we knew if they lifted the ban that the NFL would have to follow, and Major League Baseball. So everything was good. We knew this was about to happen, and we were able to get in touch with 60 Minutes, and they were going to do a feature story on us, and this would take it to the next level. We were very, very well recognized, but to be on 60 Minutes and to tell this story of what had been done to us would completely take it to the next level. So I had just gotten back Labor Day weekend from being at the Cancer Control Convention right here in LA, where I am today. My partner had just flown in from New York with meeting with 60 Minutes, and that morning the government came in, and there were like 12 sheriffs at our office, and they seized everything. They got an emergency injunction. We got a letter from former Governor Siegelman while he was in prison telling us that this was one of the first times this had ever happened in the history of the United States. They got an emergency injunction, seized everything we owned, and were fining us hundreds of millions of dollars. And if we agreed to play ball, they were going to reduce the fines from hundreds of millions of dollars to $50,000+. But the kicker was that they got to keep over $1 million worth of product. They got to keep over $200,000+ in our checking account, all our automobiles, all our equipment, and we had to agree for 10 years to no longer do business. Because they seized all our money, we couldn't get the lawyers to represent us, so we had nothing to do, so we had to play ball. And we did. And this was a very low point, but I knew that what we were doing was real, and I knew they were doing everything they can to shut us down, and I knew in the end we would win, but it was a point where I didn't know why. And but now it's been 5 years since that day that they came in and closed us down, and in that 5 years I have so much grown as a man, as a more godly man, and I became so much better of a person. I've grown mentally, physically, and spiritually more than I can ever imagine. I've become so much of a better father to my children. And God's just continued to show me more and more things, and I was very bitter at that time in my life when all these things were happening, and I've utilized this last 5 years to really forgive those that laughed at me and ridiculed me and made fun of me and abandoned me, because I've realized now that they don't know what they don't know, that they only know what they've been taught, and I've got to forgive them, because, you know, they didn't have any ill intent. They just don't know. And it's been a long battle, but it's helped me move forward, because now I'm at a very, very good point in my life where I know what I was doing was right, and I know that the door will be open again so we can continue to share this truth. And what I want to do here today is, anybody out there that's listening, I want to challenge you to do one simple thing. And it's not really simple, but I want to challenge you to do a simple thing, or challenge you to do something, and that is what God commands you to do, which is what I did, was to question all things. Not some things, but all things. And if you do that, God will begin to show you answers. And a lot of people won't be able to handle these truths. The truth will be too much for them to handle. But I want to encourage you to keep fast and keep asking and keep questioning those things, because He will reveal them to you. If you ask Him, He will show it to you, just like He did me. And I want to tell you that, which nobody told me, was that it's going to be very difficult. And like me, many people will laugh at you. They'll make fun of you. The ones that love you the most may leave you. But in the end, the truth will set you free, and you've got to keep going. And when you ask these questions, like me, you'll say, there's no way this can be real, because if it was real, then it would be on every major television on the planet. It would be in all the TV programming, you know. But you have to understand, it's called television for a reason. They're telling you lies, and they're not going to tell you the truth on the television. It's called TV programming for a reason. They're programming you to believe what they want you to believe, and God will reveal these things to you. So just know that it's going to be a long journey, but God will never give you more than you can handle. And I hope I can speak from that, from personal. I can't hope, I know I can, because I've been there, and I didn't quit, and I didn't give up on God, and I kept moving forward, and He kept revealing these things to me. And if you have a problem coming up with that first question, I want to help you. And I think that first question should be, you know, ask why 1 in 2 of you are going to die of cancer. Ask why 1 in 2 of you are majorly depressed. Ask why 1 in 3 of you are obese. You know, and when you ask these questions, God will reveal that, number one, we don't have cancer because we have lack of chemotherapy and radiation. Okay, it's not the truth. You know, you don't have a headache because you have lack of aspirin. And what I love better than anything is, you're not depressed because you're not taking your depression medication. And if the one you're taking doesn't work, take another one. Don't quit taking the one that's not working. Just add another one to it. I mean, this is ridiculous. But that's what your medical doctors tell you. And we have so blindly put all our faith in them, we don't question them. So, question all things. And if you're somebody out there that's already been on this journey like I have, please share those truths with me, because I want to know your truth. You know, God's revealed to me that the truth He showed me is a minuscule, a small amount, but I want to know more. So anybody out there that's listening to this that have been through this journey with me, please share it with me, because I'm teachable, and I want to learn what you know. Because right now, we're at a tipping point where if we don't share these truths with humanity, we're going to cease to exist, because we are the most healthy we've ever been in the history of the world, and we supposedly have all these major medical advancements, but we're getting sicker. So what's changed? They try to say all these things are genetic, but it's not. It's all about the environment, and you can see this if you question all things. He will show it to you. So, in closing, if any of this has resonated with anybody out there, I want to ask you to help me, because the government's done everything they can to shut me up and shut me down. They've taken away what I love to do, is help people. And my calling now from God is to help His people, but to help them heal their temple. And our temples have been so messed up now because of the genetically modified food, the water we're taking in, the frequencies around us, and all the synthetic supplements and herbs that we're taking. And people don't know these things. And my calling is to help His people help their temple. And I want to ask you to help me by, they've taken those things away from me, but the one thing they haven't taken away from me yet, and they haven't taken away from you yet, is our First Amendment right of free speech. So I would ask for your help, if this resonated with you, to help me share this message to others, so they can see what I've been through, and hopefully it'll inspire them. So please help me share this message, and please share with me your messages, because as a community, if we all come together and share these truths, they can't cover this up. And when people realize the truth, what's happening to them, they will be set free. And that's what I want to do, is help share this truth so we can help these people be set free. So thank you.